Hi, I'm Meera Allen with your Manifesting Destiny Moon Update. So, happy full moon in Scorpio, and that's at 10:58 a.m. Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne time. It's at 1:58 a.m. London time on the 30th and 8:58 p.m. New York time on the 30th of April. So, Scorpio moon, sun in Taurus. We look at this as the earth meeting the deepest waters. You know, the determined Taurian, sometimes stubborn path that we follow. But then we have Scorpio, our deepest waters, our most intrinsic part of ourselves, our most private part of ourselves, our biggest time of transformation within ourselves, and then all the lessons that we've learned with that. The repeated patternings and conditioning of the past, the ability to completely transform, transmute, shed, whatever it is for you, change, choose a different type of action or reaction, but all with alignment with whatever your internal goal and your internal truth and your center line is. So I'm just going to read you a little bit from Melanie Spears. Full moon in Scorpio. When I grow, I outgrow. As I outgrow, things naturally fall away. I no longer need the hardened shell to protect the softness of my interior. What was inside is now mature enough to be externalized. I trust in the cyclical process of my renewal, our osmosis. You know, I love this idea of that renewal, but renewal doesn't always come so easily. Transformations don't happen so easily. It's sometimes uncomfortable to shed things from the past. It's sometimes uncomfortable to peel off things and burn them away and cleanse them out of your space and your energy and your life. Sometimes it's difficult when those things are intangible. They're watery. It's easier when things are tangible, like a physical object that you can just, pick up, throw out, get rid of, or trim your hair, or whatever it is that you can physically touch and cleanse and transform that into something else, or revamp that, or whatever it is if it's in the physical. But what about those things that are in our deep inner waters? What about those things that are really moving and flowing and changing and an emotional and that are intangible things? That are those things that sit in our beliefs, that are those things that are sitting in our patterns, that are those things that sit in the unspoken words. Those little watery things, like how do we clear those so that we can get into that true alignment of our centered being? So that we can get on with moving forward. So that we can be in our focus. Those intangible things, those really kind of scorpionic, really personal, internal things. What are those things? Notice how in this past few weeks, you've been able to identify what throws you off, what takes you away from your center line. And it might be even so tiny, that little shift, that little it's like just that millimeter in of to get that alignment for you, to get into that magical space for you. It might just be a certain conversation you need to have or not have. It might be an energy around you that's not quite 100%. What is that? We live in our lives. We have our disciplines. Well, most of us have our disciplines. We have our health, our well-being, the way we eat, what we read, what we input through our eyes and our ears, what we input through our mouth, what we put to our bodies. That gives us this discipline. That gives us this center line. So we start to become very honest with what doesn't feel like our centered line. It doesn't feel really congruent. And Scorpio does amplify the intensities of those things. What have we outgrown? What stories have we outgrown? Forgiveness, boundaries, truth. Where have we forgiven ourselves? Where have we created healthy boundaries for ourselves? When do we speak our truth? Are those things consistent and congruent? And when they are consistent and congruent, then the magic can just unfold, Then there's just a flow and an ease. And it doesn't matter how vulnerable we are. And it doesn't matter whether we are pushing anymore or obligated or having expectations. Instead, none of that matters. All that matters is the present time, is our present focus, our present purpose. So these things are important to keep our presence.